The Trump administration believes that the big solution to our housing affordability crisis is to just make banks richer by saddling Americans with mortgage-related debt for 50 years instead of 30 years. Imaginative. Now, economists have been having a field day by tearing Trump up about this, but what are your 2 cents, Jake?
I actually am going to defer to Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is unbelievable. We live in some sort of bizarro world now. She made 2 points against this that are absolutely right. I'll back her up after you tell us what they are.
So this announcement came in the form of course, a Truth Social post by our president, which William Pulte, who is the Trump-appointed director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, then promoted on X, calling it a complete game changer. And if you can see, Trump compared himself to former President Roosevelt. Roosevelt with 30-year mortgage, Trump with 50-year mortgage. Now, obviously, the idea behind the 50-year mortgage is to lower the monthly mortgage payments for borrowers. This is apparently going to be enough to make owning a home affordable in America, which is laughable, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But look, this also means that borrowers will be in debt, will have a mortgage for far longer, for 2 decades longer than they would with a 30-year mortgage. They likely will die before their home is even paid off, considering the fact that the average age of an American being able to purchase a home in the United States is now 38 years old. And this also means that the banks will make a lot more money off of borrowers through additional payments. Each payment has interest tied to it. The longer it takes for you to pay off your mortgage, the more interest you are paying to the lender, to the banks. Now, this isn't a left-wing critique either. I mean, of course, left-wingers are critiquing this, but Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene weighed in on X, writing the following. I don't like 50-year mortgages as the solution to the housing affordability crisis. It will ultimately reward the banks, mortgage lenders, and home builders while people pay far more in interest over time and die before they ever pay off their home, in debt forever, in debt for life. Now that is just the first part of her lengthy post on this, so please check out her account on X so you can read the rest of it. But she also proposed something else instead. She says, stop companies and asset managers from buying up single family homes, which has driven up the price of homes and forced home buyers to compete with corporations that turn thousands of homes into permanent rental homes. Now, you all know how I feel about private equity firms and institutional investors buying up residential real estate, taking it off the market so middle-class families can no longer purchase them and then just turning them into rentals. However, while that does contribute to the problem, in my opinion, the biggest problem is we simply don't have enough housing. We need to build. That's the only way to get out of this housing crisis. And I have no doubt that she also agrees with that. She also mentioned something that I think previously I wouldn't be in favor of, but I have opened up to it considering how much the price of homes have skyrocketed, meaning those who own homes have made a nice amount of equity on their investment, right? Now they might want to sell their home, but they know that they've made so much in equity that a huge portion of that is likely going to be taxed, even if it's their primary residence. So here's what she says, okay? It's about capital gains taxes. So she says that maybe we need to do away with the capital gains taxes on the equity of residential real estate when someone decides to sell it. Now, currently, when Americans sell their primary residence, they can exclude up to $250,000 in equity or $500,000 if married filing jointly from getting taxed. Now, you guys might be thinking, that's a lot of equity. Do a lot of Americans have that much equity on their homes? Well, think about the boomer generation who bought their homes for like $25. Now those homes are worth like $5 million, right? I mean, it depends on which jurisdiction or which municipality you're talking about, but I'm obviously thinking about, the areas most people want to live in because that's where the jobs are at, like the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs. And they might want to downsize, they might want to sell their homes, but they know they're going to get that massive tax bill. And that might be discouraging them from selling their home and putting it on the market. So that's an interesting solution. But again, that's a minor fix that isn't really going to take into account the bigger problem, which is the lack of housing supply.
Yeah, so I'm willing to consider that capital gains proposal, because normally when they cut capital gains taxes, it affects everyone and mainly the super rich, which benefit about like 95 to 99% of the benefits go to them, right? In this case, since it's residential real estate, if you capped it at a certain number, like if your house is worth more than, make up a number, 5 million, then you don't get it anymore. But for middle class, etc., it's okay. I don't know. I'd have to look into it more. So I've got that as a maybe. But the other two things she mentioned are unquestionably true. So first off, on the mortgage, extending it. Look, guys, if you have a 0-year mortgage, that's not good, right? I want to talk about the range, because then you have to come up with a suitcase full of cash to buy your house. You can't do that. On the other hand, if you have a 200-year mortgage, that means by definition, you'll never be able to pay it off, right? But more importantly than that, guys, the length of the mortgage, when you're trying to figure out, well, what's the right number then? 0 is not the right number, 200 is not the right number, where do we land, right? You have to do it so that it is a balancing act between affordability. If I spread it out across 30 years, then I can afford it, right? And how much wealth you're creating. Because if you spend most of the money paying back interest as you would in a 50-year mortgage, you're not, forget the fact that you're paying more, don't forget that, that's super important. But on top of that, you're accumulating less wealth in your house.
Bingo.
So even if you die in the middle of a 30-year mortgage or versus a 50-year mortgage, the people you're passing the house on to will be saddled with less debt, right? And they'll have accumulated more wealth. And that's in the bad case where you die in the middle, right? But so that's why you could argue, hey, maybe we should make it 25 years, 35 years, whatever it might be. And some people do less than a 30-year mortgage.
There are 15-year mortgages, which, look, my whole thing is I don't want the banks to profit from me, right? They're gonna profit from me, but 15-year mortgage means they're gonna profit less. 30-year mortgage, they're gonna profit more. You're paying more interest.
Yeah, so that's inarguable, that's just math, okay? So she's right about that and Trump is wrong. And then in this case, the second thing is, Anna's been on the warpath about housing prices for years now. And then people started catching on. And the very first agreement we had with Charlie Kirk when we interviewed him at the RNC was when we talked about private equity buying up all the residential real estate. And he said, oh my God, I hate that. We shouldn't allow that. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Now here comes Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the same thing.
Right.
She calls it asset managers, we call private equity the same thing. It's Wall Street, right? So now the populist right and the populist left totally agree, because if we let them buy all the houses, number one, the prices are gonna go up, we can't afford them. Number two, we're gonna be renters the rest of our lives and we're never going to accumulate any wealth. It's the #1 wealth creation asset for the average American. And they're looking to rob that from you. So this is an attempt to stop that robbery. Now Trump's 50-year mortgage plan with no restraint on Wall Street at all is the exact opposite.
It's a favor to the banks. It's a robbery. It's a favor to the banks, guys. That's all it is. It's so brazen, it's so obvious. It's disgusting, it really is. So that's not an imaginative, smart, new way of getting home prices down so working class Americans can afford housing. It's just saddling you with debt for a longer period of time and making banks richer while doing it. So
I mean, look, it's a new day in America. Check out populistplank.com and you'll see 6 populist positions that almost everyone in the country agrees with. So the only people standing in our way are the elected politicians. Because we're not fighting each other on these things. Marjorie Taylor Greene is right on this. We've been right on it for years. So it's beautiful to see the two sides coming together in terms of at least the voters. Now our elected politicians, we got a couple that are on our side and the rest are a disaster. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.